Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fieros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, I'm excited. We've got Tilden Moschetti on the show. Tilden is a securities attorney who helps fund managers, venture capitalists, and syndicators of all types of deals and sizes ensure that their deals are legal, their documents are SEC clean and compliant, and their business models work. He's been practicing law for 20 years and exclusively for investors and syndicators. He's an active investor himself and fund manager and understands the needs and mindset of real estate syndicators. Hey, Tilden, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here and excited to our talk today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you taking your time and jumping on with me, hearing your experience and your knowledge here with me and our audience. It's definitely excited to have you on. Well, I always like to start off for those of our listeners that may not be familiar with you and kind of the things that you've got going on, a little bit of your history. Give us some backstory. How did you get involved in, for one, real estate? But obviously you got experience on the legal side. You have some story there. Fill us in. Are you the third generation and attorney or something, or what's going on?
No, I finished up an MBA and I really decided that I wanted to do real estate. My idea was I was going to do a project where I was going to use manufactured housing and for extended care for adults, active seniors, things like that. But I had no idea how to do it, no idea what I was doing. And so I looked around at other developers and saw a number of them in my area were also lawyers. And I thought, oh, that makes sense. I should go get a law degree. It'll be easier to raise money and kind of know what I'm supposed to do. So I went to law school, did all the usual courses, really focusing in on real estate and property and those kind of rights. Towards the end of my career there, I did a project where I was focusing on trial advocacy. And so I loved doing it. It was an adrenaline rush. And so I decided to be a trial lawyer instead and did that for about 10 years. So everywhere from district attorney's office, ultimately just opened up my own shop and focusing in on disputes around real estate. So I kept in the real estate world and had a lot of very interesting clients, a lot of cases. Really, I didn't do evictions or anything like that. It was more about if there was something involved in the ownership of the real estate, valuations or whatever. That's what I focused on. But the adrenaline soon wore off. Doing trial works is very painful and not fun for anybody who's in a lawsuit. So I was kind of burned out, started doing some brokerage. And then one of my brokerage partners came to me and said, "Hey, look at this deal. It's really awesome." And I looked at it and said, "Yeah, this is really a good deal." He said, "Yeah, we should syndicate it." And I had no idea what he was talking about. So I said, "Okay, we can do that," knowing I'd have to figure it out. So managed to figure it out. We did that deal and it was successful and it was really, really enjoyable process. And so did another one. And then by that point I was thinking, well, gee, this is going so well and I enjoy this part of the business. Why am I litigating? So I stopped litigating altogether and then just focused on helping syndicators put together deals. So I kind of merge that practice with, I still do my own deals, but I help other syndicators and bring that real world experience. Oftentimes I tell them, I've been right where you're at. I've sat across from clients and I've had to talk to them and answer their questions and kind of figure out how we're going to raise money. And it's just a great process.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love to hear that. We kind of spoke real briefly on that before we hopped on, but I think it's always a testament anytime somebody in the industry, whatever capacity is, right? Whether it be insurance, lending, agency side, if somebody's actively doing deals, it's like, well, hey, now not only am I helping you out, like through whatever service that I'm able to provide, but just like you said, right? I've been in your shoes. I know what it is and you're dealing with. And that's a tremendous help. And there's too many of us that have worked in the industry that decide not to do that for whatever reason. And I get it. Like, hey, maybe you just have a different risk tolerance or you grew up thinking a different way, but kudos to you. I mean, that's to me, that's a tremendous value just that you're in the trenches.
And I don't know why there aren't more attorneys that do that do deals. I mean, we do it every day. We see a lot of deals, and it's fun and it makes a good amount of money. And why wouldn't you? I mean, it's to me, it's kind of a no brainer. It's the same thing. My legal costs are free for me, so that's not a problem. So
I was
yeah,
going to say
I'm more than happy.
you have a competitive advantage there, right? It's like
Yeah, exactly.
I almost wonder too, because it sounds like the way that you went into law, you were already, okay, have the mindset of I'm
Yeah.
already trying to do deals. And I think that's usually the biggest thing. It's a mindset shift
Yes.
because, hey, looking for a way to do deals. How can I do it? Right. And then you looked into law as kind of an avenue to do it versus the other way around. Most people kind of start their careers off in whatever profession there is. Hey, I'm making money now. Oh, I've got a tax problem. Hey, I should diversify, or hey, I should start planting seeds for the future. So you're coming at it kind of from the opposite angle. Whereas I think a lot of professionals, they don't. They're not starting off with that mindset of, I want to
Right.
get involved in real estate. Right.
Yeah, and I've always had that entrepreneurial bent. It's been the best times were out of college. I was helping people put businesses together and just, oh, that sounds like a really cool project. Let's just see if what we can do with it. And none of them became huge. None of them became huge while I was in it. Some of them became pretty big without me but after the fact. But I love the ideas, and that's the best part about working with clients. We work with about 100 clients a year. I've talked to probably about 200, 300 people a year about, what they're working on, and it's great. I mean, I love hearing all the deals and the great ideas. I would have never thought of on my own.
Oh, that's awesome. I got to think too, like at a certain point, and I don't know how this would work in terms of ethics or any of that kind of stuff, but it's just like the sheer amount of contacts that you have, like you're going to have experience, like an exposure rather to like so many operators, so many syndicators, people working in the space, even if they're not necessarily working, let's say in your target markets or whatever, like that almost kind of doesn't matter. But although it could, okay, hey, I'm interested. I'm doing deals in that market. Like
Yeah,
come across
totally.
something? Has stuff like that come up? Have you been
It
able to
has.
benefit, let's
Yeah.
say,
I've been able to work with a few clients on their deals, like more than just the attorney. And it's certainly something that my practice is kind of growing into. We'll still keep the law practice, but it will be more like the teaming up joint ventures with other people. So just to expand my reach, get to do more interesting, fun things. So
yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Now that you have an interesting background coming out of, let's say, doing trial, because there's all kinds of different categories for law and whatnot. Like that must have been an adventure. Any crazy stories come out of being a trial attorney?
boy, it's just a hard world. You don't want to be in a lawsuit. Nobody does one. I mean, you certainly don't want to get sued, but even doing the suing, it's not pleasant or fun. It's very stressful for everybody. And my area of practice, there was so much like fighting that because it was always either a lot of times it would be a divorce or civil, or it would be, so I was bouncing around. I was in court 2 or 3 days a week, which is a lot it wasn't like a big corporate law firm where you're in trial maybe once every 5 years. I was in court all the time, and which is cool because you get to learn perspective on how other people see things and other people see the world and things like that, which pays off too. I mean, when you're dealing with investors or just trying to talk to them, see if it's a good fit, just to kind of see first where they're coming from, get a sense of if this is even something that they'd be interested in. If it's not, that's cool, but they're probably not going to invest. It's not worth anybody's time to really go further. But then also kind of hearing their perspectives, and maybe I've had clients give me totally good ideas, or investors give me ideas of ways I should be offering things that I wasn't listening like through those same set of ears, I probably wouldn't have picked up on it.
Yeah, I was going to say you're probably able to glean from them. I mean, for one, because you're coming from the legal side, right? And there may be everybody's got kind of a strong suit, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sure, hey, maybe you got an operator that comes to you and like they're awesome marketers, right?
Yeah.
Or deal negotiators or whatever. And it's like, well, hey, you can handle the legal side, but hey, thanks for showing me that. I'm going to use that on my own deals, right? Like this is a
Yeah,
great way
totally.
to evaluate. You mentioned perspective too. I gotta think too, like coming out of trial, and like you said, a lot of it is going to be kind of ugly, messy, right? If you're in court, you're not typically dealing with fun situations, and it's definitely not, hey, a real estate deal where somebody comes to you excited and all of that. But
Yeah.
that has to also, I would imagine, that has to also probably help keep you grounded, right? Where it's like, all right, I've got the stress of this, let's say putting a deal together and timelines and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, then you go, then you're in court,
Oh, it's
on the
totally
trial side,
different.
and it's like, oh my goodness, this is
Totally
so
different.
stressful. Like,
I mean, and my clients' deals are extremely important to them, and they're important to me too. But nobody's business is going out of business in an hour. Right? I know I really don't need to answer that email within an hour. Then a day really is going to be okay. I promise. But so you stop freaking out so much about things when you're going to do a great job, but everybody ultimately is happy. Whereas in a trial, no one is happy. Your clients hate you. They hate the other side. The only people you get along with is the other attorney sometimes, try and figure out how to get the deal done. But normally it's and that kind of is a thing too, is being able to get a deal.
Mm.
Because even in trials, it's much better for everyone to settle most of the time
Mm.
if we can come up with a settlement. And that's the same thing you're doing as syndicators. You got to be adaptive. You got to move around. You've got all sorts of your investors all need different things, and so can you do something where kind of the most of what they need is getting served and still being able to make money yourself?
Yeah, I guess in that regard, and I guess I hadn't thought about it like that. It's like, well, you're still creating win-win scenarios as much as
Yeah,
possible, right? It's just that you're typically dealing with some kind of a negative aspect, let's say with the trial component versus
yeah,
on the deal side, the syndication side. It's like, well, hey, I'm trying to create a situation here where we all win, right? Whatever
yeah.
negotiations need to happen, like you guys want to sell, well, guess what? I want to buy, and we're trying to make this work. Where you're kind of working with that towards that same end goal.
Yeah, and I think
Great.
that's the mindset that you gotta have but most syndicators and sponsors, they do a great job of really putting investors first. I think probably all of my clients do, and that's really good. It's good for the industry, it's good for the investors, and it's gonna keep them out of court, right? Nobody's going to sue their sponsor, even if they lose money. If communication was great, everybody
Yeah.
felt like they've been heard, and the investor believes that the sponsor did their very best. Nobody's going to file that lawsuit. It's just not going to happen. So the mindset of let's all work together and make the most amount of money we can is great. That's
Yeah.
also what's great about syndication is it's everybody making money. It's who doesn't want that? So
Right. Yeah, we're working towards that common goal. But yeah, I think you're right because some of the horror stories you might hear, it's like, well, hey, that operator they ghosted us for 6 months or whatever, and that's when people get frustrated and pissed off, and
totally.
hey, I'm threatening legal action here because you hadn't said anything to me.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Well, to switch gears a little bit, I know that you're obviously working in your own deals and you're kind of managing effectively what fund at this point. Give us a little bit of kind of what your business on that end
Yeah,
kind of
right
looks
now
like.
we're working on really we're putting up a couple deals together, a logistics deal in Texas. I'm putting together a fund of income producing properties that'll be much more of a cash flow fund, which isn't my normal thing. Normally I'm just all about the upside on the end. So that's kind of interesting for me. And then really kind of rolling out too to see how I can work more with my client base now and grow the business like we do. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And working on that end of things, obviously the market's been volatile for the last 2 years now, almost
yeah,
or just about. Where do you see kind of how are you navigating, let's say for your clients, or how is your team navigating that current market environment?
sure.
Obviously, there's more
I love
volatility, even.
it is. And there's a lot. I mean, mostly right now rates are really the hardest challenge to deal with. But I'm so incredibly hot on alternative investments that
Mm,
I mean I think I certainly am burnt out of public market, and I think probably well, certainly most of the people coming to alternatives are, and more are just gonna do it. I mean, we're now in a the market corrections are going to be happening more frequently at some point, And then even the fact that the way I like to think of it is, if in the public market, there's so little control by the retail investor, and there's such a
Hmm.
small minority in any ownership. If I want to call Tim Cook today, right, CEO of Apple, pick up the phone, I can, right? I could probably find a phone number that could get close to him, but they're never going to put me on the phone with him, and he's not going to spend any time. Whereas I could call any sponsor and they get him on the phone and say, "Well, why did you make that decision there? Is that real? What was the rationale behind it, so I can understand where my money's working?" I can do that. Where the public market doesn't give us that opportunity. And I think as we democratize the investments better, I think the alternatives has only a good to go, right? So it's so much positive can come from that, that I'm extremely happy. I think that there really is not a lot of fraud that goes on in our industry. It does happen, but it's pretty rare. And if your investors are doing good due diligence, there's there's so many good deals out there that that sponsors are putting out.
For sure. And I mean, it's such a great opportunity too, because really, truly, most investors have not had the exposure or the availability that they can tap into ever before compared to now, right? In the last decade, it's been got a little bit more notoriety, like let's say for syndications and whatnot. But
Yeah.
before that, it's like, no, it's credit investors only. And like, there's no on ramp for you to get into this other than investing. It's just, no, my 401k and okay, cool. Yeah, well, we'll just call it a day, my pension. And it's like, well, no, like that may
Yeah.
have worked a long time ago, but there's way better options out there now. Now you can get exposure to that. And that's a very unique,
And they're
you
more
know,
interesting. I mean,
oh, for sure.
ownership in a public company is it's just not that interesting. So whereas ownership of the strip center down the street, that's a lot more cool, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Everybody watches the shows and everybody thinks real estate is cool and it is.
Yeah.
But most people are like, well, I don't want to be a landlord. I don't. Okay. Well, hey, there's different ways for
Yeah.
you to become part owner of some form of real estate. It doesn't just have to be a single family house. And it doesn't just have to be investing in your own backyard too. I'm not
Yes.
sure if all the deals you guys do. Well, no, I know that they're
No,
not because you
I
just
do them
mentioned
all over
Texas.
yeah, Texas. My first deal was in Alabama. I did a couple deals when I was in California. Not looking for any California deals anymore. But yeah, I'm completely agnostic on location and on even property type or asset type. I like stories. I want a good deal that's interesting. A cookie cutter doesn't do it for me personally, just because it's just not my thing. So
These are the words, guys, for all of our listeners. This is how you know you've been in the business for a little while when it's just like, oh, like I need something a little bit more interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure in your seat too, because you're also helping clients too. You've heard the same thing like over and over and
Oh
over
yeah.
again. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, same deal size, asset class. Like, okay, yeah, sure, we got you covered. Like,
Yeah, there's definite trends, but every now and then there will be somebody like every 6 months, like somebody with a really great idea comes in, and it's like, what? I had no idea about that. That's really cool. Or there's just always something that's suddenly fresh, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. I'm gonna steal it.
sure, sure. Yeah, actually, speaking of that, I'm curious because you are in touch with a lot of people doing deals, different sizes, different strategies, and around the country. Also, are you seeing a trend towards anything in particular, like maybe for let's say asset type or asset class? And I would think too. I'm not sure how often you'd be in touch with them, kind of after the fact, other than when you're operating within your own deals. But a big issue right now is okay. Hey, OpEx is up because we're dealing with taxes and insurance for a lot of these states, especially you're based where you are. And it sounds where a lot of your deals are. Hey, Sunbelt, kind of Southern state, like we're all dealing with a lot of the same stuff. I'm curious as to what you're seeing, let's say directionally for the industry. And then also too, like if you're hearing maybe solutions to some of these challenges that we're facing, that all operators are facing now with
Sure.
increased costs.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two trends that have been going on over the past year or two. There's been a lot more people that are interested in putting together debt funds than there were before, and a lot more people kind of associated with that who are just interested in fixed payments rather than shares of
Yep.
equity. So that's definitely more hot than before. Development is still really hot. It's not so much the development of apartment buildings anymore. I'm trying to think if I even have any apartment buildings like in my clientele right today that are being built. There's a lot of single family homes being built. There's a lot of people are now starting to come in on retail because retail's been strong for a while. And then certainly in the short-term rental or even just big hospitality like resorts and things like that have been hotter than they've before. I mean, 5 years ago, almost all of it was multifamily, a value.
Mhm.
That was the deal. But there's a lot less of that now. I think it's just that those good deals are hard to come.
Yeah, it's like the market got so hot, especially in specific markets. I mean, where you're at, I mean, this is
My market's hot. Yeah.
boomtown.
I'm in
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, our market's really I would I wouldn't bother to look for a multifamily property here. It probably doesn't exist at a rate that would be doable. The development projects that are here, most of them are condos or single family homes on tracks. That is, those are doing really well. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and like I said, that would have contributed to, okay, a decline, let's say, in deals and whatnot, like let's say on the multifamily side, because it's, again, like you got a lot of markets that are there. Hey, everybody looking at the same macro trends. Okay, well, that kind of leads you to the same multiple destinations there. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, and they get super heated after a while. And then too, like my second question, have you seen people come up with solutions for like navigate? I'm just curious as to what people are doing other, let's say for increased taxes and increased insurance, other than just, hey, no, we just got to have more conservative underwriting or yeah, yeah. I mean, there's nothing we can do like at an individual level, let's say to help trying to
yeah.
mitigate that. I mean, in certain aspects, but it's going to be
Yeah, I mean,
limited.
I see it right now more. I mean, the insurance side has been
Yeah.
major increase in costs. I forgot what North Carolina's increase is, something like 25% or 30% higher. I mean, which is insane. That's a lot of money. And I guess from what I hear, it's just that the insurance companies aren't making enough money. I mean, they're breaking even at best, the disasters that have been happening and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always want people to be very, very conservative on underwriting. It's always better to over deliver than than I've had deals where I would give say we're going to hit a 15% IRR. Even when you hit like a 13, just doesn't feel as good when you told them a 15.
Right.
It's if I told them 12, I'd feel pretty good. But so those things, they still kind of bug me. So yeah,
Under
right.
promise under promise
Underwrite.
over deliver. Yeah, you
And
got it.
people and investors are smart now. You can't really pull the wool over their eyes like people would do in the past. They see these deals where it's like, well, you're gonna get 100% IRR on, or something. Nobody buys into it anymore. Those people are having a hard time getting investors. The people who are honest, straightforward, conservative underwriters, it shows in their work, it shows in in everything they do. And investors go with them because they have a lot more trust. You can't get an investor without trust. So just earn that trust from the very.
No, 100%, 100%. And that's something else too, guys. There's still a ton of capital floating around,
Oh,
sloshing around in the system. It wants to find a solid home with people who, what do they say, right? Like in business, you do business with people that you like and that you trust, right? And so if you screw the trust component, like you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot. Like there's too small of an industry to do that. So working with top tier players in the space, people who are
yeah,
legit.
most of my investors will come on the next deal. It's about 70% go to my next deal, which is that's great. So, and that's what you want. You want kind of repeatable, so you're not
Mhm.
having to find investors every single time from scratch. So,
And then that lends back to that's the relational component. It's like, well, hey, you had a good experience. Awesome. I want you to end on the next deal. I mean, I want you
sure.
to, I'm looking to your success and we can continue to build together. Right. So that's a testament to you guys operating ethically and performing well, kind of doing what you're saying. I'm under promising, over delivering. So that's great. Well, Dylan, this is the point of the show where we transition to what we call our fire round. Just a little more
Sure.
brief Q&A, more brief answer, a little bit more fun questions. Some of them.
Hope so.
That's something you're up for?
Well, absolutely. We'll give it a try.
First question, what is the best book that you recommend other than for us real estate investors or real estate people, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? The Purple Bible. Do you have a favorite book recommendation that you have for people?
I'm going to go with, I even forgot the name of oh no, I'm going to do something. I would say there's a whole series of books by Darren Donnelly called Sports for the Soul,
Mm,
where he uses sports stories and analogies to, they're kind of motivational, but ways to look at life and things like that and perform our best. I think they're my favorite series of books.
awesome. Yeah. I hadn't heard that one before. And I love hearing new recommendations. So yeah. All right. Very cool. Sports, all right, sports for the soul. Like it. All right. Next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
I'm very good at moving deals into ways that are sellable and interesting for people. So I look to the story first, the story of the property. People make their decisions with emotions before using their head. And so I'm pretty good at finding where that kind of hook will lie. And then I may not be the best marketer telling that part of the story, but I can identify what it is so the marketing people can turn it into something that's compelling.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that actually comes back to how you mentioned earlier. Well, I'm looking for interesting. I'm looking for interesting. So not just you as an individual investor, yes, but also too, that's just going to make it
Yeah.
easier for other people to
Invest.
want to jump on board. Yeah, no, I love that. That's actually really good. All right, next question. What would you consider the biggest lesson that you learned over your career thus far?
Always, always, always over communicate. So like we were talking about before, it keeps you out of trouble. It keeps everybody happy. If if you think that communicating once a year is enough with your investors, it's not. Quarterly is fine, but also encourage phone calls, encourage communication always.
Very good. And that's a life lesson right there, but definitely,
Yeah.
definitely a business. So, yeah, that's very good. And actually too, like that kind of speaks to, we're so digital now. Everything is DMs and text messages and whatnot. Because sometimes
Yeah.
people forget the power of a phone call, right? It's like, wow, I just like to hear your voice. That's great. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
really good.
totally.
The next question for the busy working professional, somebody who's trying to work towards financial freedom, what advice would you have for them?
Do it. It's if you're doing the right thing and you work at it, you the odds of success are so in your favor that it's crazy not to. So, I mean, if you've got a good idea, just work on it. If you need to bring in additional people, bring in additional people, but just make it happen because it will happen with action. Won't happen with plan.
Yeah. That's really good. That actually that speaks back to you sharing your initial story. That was the one thing that popped in my mind was, oh, you fell forward. It's like, well,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not going to learn it. I got to try it. We got to get out there. We got to do something, take some action. Love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, if our audience wants to reach out to you, they've got a deal they're trying to work through, they need some legal advice. Like what's the best way for them to be able to reach out, touch base with you?
Well, certainly calling my office or hitting our website, moschettilaw.com is probably the best way. If it's just questions like about how this all works, I've got a bunch of videos on YouTube that also kind of I try to educate at the same time. So that can be a great resource. But don't be afraid to reach out and call and set up a time to talk.
Well, till that, I really enjoyed having you on the show. I always enjoy our conversations with people who are out in the field, kind of doing things, making things happen. So I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on and sharing with our audience today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much too. I really appreciate your show and getting to talk with you, and I'm excited.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tilden. We'll have to catch up with you in the future.
Bet. Thanks.
Well, great conversation with Tilden Moschetti over with Moschetti Law Firm, doing lots of great deals and opportunities where he's working with syndicators, working with other investors who are needing legal help, helping to structure deals. Obviously, he's an active investor himself, so he's definitely got experience on that side of the business as well. I always think that that's super valuable. It can be difficult for people who are providing services within the industry to directly relate to active investors if they haven't done deals themselves. So always appreciate people who are active in the investing side or on the real estate side, even if they're not, or if they're providing a service or something like that. It's incredibly valuable to me. But guys, if you guys are interested in investing with us and the things that we've got going on, we've got some great opportunity right now. As a matter of fact, go to tricityequity.com. You can learn more about the team, learn more about our business and the things that we're working on, connect with local like-minded investors here. If you're here on Oahu, if you're visiting, if you're based here in Hawaii or on Oahu specifically, come out and join us. We have monthly meetups, 100 little multifamily and more. bunch of great people that come out to the deal or to the deals, to the networking events. And it's super, super organic. You can make some great connections there, make some great friendships, really just surround yourself with people who are looking to level up their game to get better. Guys, if you're finding value in the podcast, we'd love a 5-star review. Give us some feedback. Share it with a friend. Give us some feedback. How can we get better? How can we improve? We want to continue to make the content better, help you guys out, help to expand your network, and just help to provide you great content. But guys, that's going to be it for today. We'll see you on the next episode, and go out, take some action, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.